those of you who don't know, Blair is my sponsor for EXP. We did work at Remax together. He was an office from me. I need to thank my daughter because the only reason that I think that we ever actually had conversations, Blair, was because Hadley kept running into your office. You were very charming and entertained her, which was very sweet. But I think that's one of the only reasons that we actually started chatting, aside from us doing deals together. But I mean, we superficially knew each other at that point. So thank you to Hadley, because as soon as you left and we got the farewell email that Blair was leaving Remax, I was like, wait a second, where are you going? Anyways, I followed hot on your trail probably a week after, which was pretty cool. So I've been in your downline very soon after you left, like I said, and I've seen our downline grow. I don't know, how many do you think that are in your downline now?
I think there's about 43 or 44 in our organization now. Yeah, tremendous growth in such a short period of time.
I was number 4 and now we're at 40.
Yeah, that's right. And especially, in a market where EXP was brand new at the time too. And when myself and Aaron, even yourself, made the jump, so to speak. So tremendous growth there. But yeah, no, thanks for having me on today. I'm really excited too to be here. A little background, I guess, about myself too. I started real estate in kind of 2007 and got licensed in early 2008. I started at a boutique brokerage called Platinum Realty at the time. There was maybe 10, 12 agents only, and it was run by Eric Patato downtown. So after about 3 years, Eric made a decision. It just wasn't sustainable, as a lot of these smaller brokerages or even just the traditional brick and mortar brokerages are converting. But he ended up closing the doors, and most of us moved over to Remax. And that's where I met you and your daughter and started my training for my daughter. I think about that sometimes because Charlie's coming up on 2 years old. I had 10 really great years at Remax, and really, I loved it. I still talk to a lot of the people over there and some great personnel. And then it was Eric actually who put the EXP model in front of us and said, take a look at this. What do you think? And at first, of course, probably like a lot of people, oh, no way. I'm, Remax, it's the best. No, thanks. And we looked at it, and when you look at it a little closer, it's kind of one of those things once you really look at it and really look at the details, really hard to unsee that, and all the benefits that most of the people here probably know that come with it. And there's kind of something for everybody there. So we made that switch about 3 years ago and really haven't looked back. Like you said, the company's just growing as a whole, locally, nationally, internationally. I find it really exciting to be a part of. And, there's pieces of it that you just don't get anywhere else. Stuff even like this. One of my favorite things about it is the collaboration factor at EXP.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of friends at Remax, and sure, people would share the odd thing at the coffee machine or the water cooler, but not even close to the degree of collaboration at this brokerage. And I don't know if it's something to do with we're all stockholders and owners, the WestJet thing. It's just the whole culture is so different, and it just makes it so much more enjoyable to work in. I think you made a great point, even talking with mortgage brokers and realtors. There's no reason why everybody just work together and be stronger as an industry, I think is what EXP's been doing, and others following now too.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? When I first switched over, because we have the group chat where everybody from EXP is on workplace chat. So can't remember who I was talking to, but I always remember saying it's like a team, but you're not on a team. I mean, obviously you can have teams within EXP, but all of us are collaborating. So it kind of feels like you're on a team. If anyone has a question, they pop it on the group chat and then somebody's answer. And if you get one answer from one person, you actually get alternate answers from other people, because not everybody operates the same way. So you can kind of pick and choose what works for you, which I think is amazing. And it's just a unbelievably large amount of information that you can get and collaborate with other people. It must be the environment. Like you said, it is just strongly demonstrated at EXP. And so other people tend to just follow, right? So I mean, at other brokerages that I was at, because I've been at 3, it wasn't like that. It was always keep your secrets, right? You don't want people to know. And then EXP has been so open and everyone's been open that everybody just follows suit, which I think is amazing, like you said.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, like things like right down to there's a page on Workplace, the listing presentation. There's so many pages that it's hard to find them all, but you go playing around and searching. But here's listing presentations from top producing agents all over North America. I haven't looked in probably over a year. There's probably some of the other countries on there now.
Yeah.
But where else can you find that for free, basically, to grab a few and pull the best pieces from each one that works for you? Because like you said, we're all different, somewhat geared the same, I think, to some degree, but we're all different and do things differently. And you can pick and choose how you want to set up your career. And there's just so much resources available. One puts the effort in just to go find out how they work and where they are. Blown away by it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Switching gears a little bit, I'm curious, what got you into the real estate industry? Like why did you say, hey, I want to be a realtor?
I was in real estate. I guess when I started, I was about 30. I'd been playing hockey when I was younger. I kind of come from a hockey family. So I did the whole hockey thing and maybe finished that up in my early 20s. And I always felt like I'm an outgoing type personality. So I'd want to be in some kind of sales, dealing with people. So I kind of bounced around from job to job, different sales jobs and stuff, and never really found that it really was fulfilling in any kind of way. And I always kind of had my eye on real estate over here. My grandfather, Bert Foster, owned a brokerage actually in Kamloops in the 70s, maybe into the 80s a little bit. There was an interest there, but being in my younger 20s when I was thinking this stuff, I just didn't think I was ready for it. I wasn't definitely ready for it at the time. But as I got to 30, I thought, maybe I can take a run at this. It seems like something I'd really enjoy. And another thing I really started to notice as I kind of went through the years was just kind of listening to friends, people, the public, when they would talk about their real estate experiences. And a lot of them, as we all know, the public tends to give realtors a hard time. So there was a real gap there, perception from the public and what realtors are really doing for them versus what some great realtors do. So I saw an opportunity, I guess, and mixed with the whole, working with people and setting your own schedule. So you think when you first start, just really appealed to me. And that's when I just kind of jumped in. And, it's just weird to say it's been 15 years because some years have gone by slow, but for the most part, it's like life. It's just flying by. So I really enjoy it and thankful for it. And I think it's a great career if you can stay with it and keep going on it. And I don't know, EXP again, not to keep going back to that, but they're just, it's so robust for the experienced agent or a brand new agent. So it would have been cool to find that in the beginning, but happy I'm here now.
Yeah, great things come with it.
So you said you started in 2008, is that right? If I can remember properly. You kind of went through a similar market around that time as we are right now. How did you work through that, kind of jumping into real?
I've been thinking about that a little bit lately with the market changing. So it was interesting. Like I said, when I joined Platinum Realty with Eric Picato, his whole brokerage actually was set up a little different. Everybody there were buyer agents, and he was the only one that could list homes. So it was a little bit, like I said, different setup for what you never see that now. But back then, it wasn't all that odd. So even if a buyer agent got a listing, they'd have to turn it over to Eric, get some kind of referral, but then he was giving them tons of buyer leads because the market was on fire. Well, I get licensed and it was almost like a light switch went off. The market just went ice cold, but he had agreed that I was going to be his listing helper. So that the only person other than him that I was going to get all this listing training, which I thought was great because he had 100 listings and I think I was going to get $500 per listing that sold. So, you're doing the math. Okay, how many listings does he sell a year? And everything goes ice cold. And I think he sold 10 listings that year. It was quite a way to enter into my real estate career. It was completely, the taps had been turned off. Now there wasn't buyer leads for all his buyers. They started leaving the office kind of one by one because when you get slow, it's pretty normal to blame the brokerage where you're at. I don't know. I just remember really kind of, having to really dig in it's kind of a work thing. And things were just nuts for the last 2 years. Here we are back to, let's just call it a normal market. And it's not rocket science. I would like, okay, we're not that busy, like how many hours are we doing from Monday to Friday? Like not a ton, right? So there's no reason why I would tell myself I can't do 4 open houses every weekend. Like there's no reason why. So that's like 3 hours Saturday, 3 hours Sunday, because I do an hour and a half each one, maybe a little bit of time in between. But what you're doing is you're getting in the flow, your signs are out there, you're posting about it. So you've got 4 or 5 different ways that your name's getting out there more. You're talking to people more and you're sharpening your saw more. And again, this is just stuff that's been around forever, but I feel a lot of us fall into the trap where we hear, oh, open houses, they don't do anything, or they do, they get you going, they you talk to people, you get better at it, you get better at attracting people. I had a coach that said something that really appealed to me. He said, in any sales, you need to be in the flow 50 per week. The flow, what's the flow 50? He said, every week you should be walking around in public places and be able to bump into 50 people that you're going to have a conversation with. This is like going for lunch downtown, having the coffee. See Helen Ralph, her son,
oh
and
my
Ralph
God.
Spina.
Every time I'm downtown,
3 times a day having coffee because they're in the flow,
everywhere.
right?
I hi to
So,
them everywhere.
yeah, and like it doesn't always have to be like, and join clubs and teams. So I would do things that I enjoyed. So I was on 2 hockey teams because I was still very much in hockey at the time. So I play hockey. Some people do things like the Chamber of Commerce. Like you don't have to do the really structured, rigid stuff. It can be anything, fundraisers you're part of, but just you got to find the motivation to push yourself out the door, put yourself out there and just have stuff planned every week and just keep going and keep posting about it and more and more and more. And it just starts to happen. You just start picking up business from, if you draw a chart and say, okay, I want deals from these 10 different sources. And then how am I going to do that? So it's not just important to have the goal. It's like, then there's the sub goal and okay, how am I going to get the deal from the listing? I'm going to go door knock in these neighborhoods and hopefully I get one deal a listing from doing that. I started a farming thing. I think I only had a $50 a month budget to do a farming. So I just picked one complex and I printed these flyers for a complex about getting a listing. And I can't remember what was on there, but I just went and hand delivered them. But I did it twice a month. Eventually would talk to people in there. So, and these things take time. You got to remember it's what you do today, you get paid on basically 3-4 months later, right? Like that's the tough part about real estate. You really get the traction going. And then we have these lulls, but the more you're just pounding all these different directions in a bit of a strategic way, but making it fun. I just think it ends up paying off even in these down markets. Because a lot of us, we kind of got lazy or complacent in the last 2 years. It was like on the listing side, shooting fish in a barrel. And on the, the buyer side was obviously quite a bit tougher. Like I call the public now, they say, oh, aren't you sad or that market's gone? I'm like, well, yeah, the listing side was a little easier, but it's sure more enjoyable to work with buyers right now if they want to buy, right? So that's the other side of it, is giving the buyers and the consumers confidence that prices out there are outweighing the interest rates, in my opinion. And that's some of the language I'm talking with my buyers when they ask. I never say things definite. I just say, in my opinion, that, when I look at prices 8 months ago, 150 grand higher, for example, for that house, it's now 650. That's looking pretty exciting. Interest rates are going to come down at some point. When it hits your comfort level, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, then we'll be there. Let's get out and look at something. That's another thing, actually, kind of reminding myself of a few things that I'd always do. I was always really quick on my text. Speed of response is such a huge, huge thing in this day and age. Like I saw a study maybe 2-3 years ago by MIT that the consumer expects a response within 6 or 7 minutes, or else they're moving on to the next. I think it might even be under 5 minutes now.
I totally agree with that. It's our website and was like asking an inquiry. And I think it was like years ago. This was when I was at River City. And I remember, I think it took me like 2 hours to call them back because I was on appointments. and they had already found another agent. And I was like, oh my,
100%.
blew my mind. But I mean, like, lesson learned, right? So
Sometimes you just can't. It's not possible. And it's like, okay, well, you couldn't wait. Like I was in an appointment, like showing houses. But see, that's the thing. Like, I feel we all give ourselves a little excuses sometimes. Like, oh, I don't need to answer that right now. I'm showing a house, which is a fine line. You don't want to show the buyer you're showing that you're like this. But I felt I was really good at being like, I'm showing houses right now. I'll get back to you in an hour, as the buyers are going down the hallway looking at the bathroom and I see that. Just a quick one, like, or if it's like 9 at night and you're kind of 10 at night and you're like, I'm not replying to this. It's 9 at night. I want to set the expectation, which, okay, there's something there, setting the expectation. That's a different conversation, but I just would always reply, say, hey, I'll get back to you first thing in the morning. And I just think that really helped me keep people, because it's Kamloops. All of our people know 6, 7 of us. I just felt like if I at least did that, I'm gonna beat out the other 5 they know. Just with some little simple stuff like that, staying in the flow, being super social and out there and posting a lot, even though it's hard to post about yourself, which you don't even have to post about yourself. It's like, look at like Melanie Winches, and some of you or all of you might know her, but she's like on the post a ton of stuff. Like it's a lot. And I always think I couldn't post that much, but I always look like she just keeps going. And it's like, even showing houses, it just reminds our people, oh, right, yeah, she's doing that. Oh, wow, she's doing that again today. You kind of position yourself as a real estate professional.
Yeah, I agree. You want to be at the top of people's mind. And I think communication is really important. And there was also a study out there that said the number one thing people are looking for in their realtor is trust. And I feel like if you're not communicating with them on a regular basis or getting back to them, you're not going to build that trust and rapport either. So like it kind of goes hand in hand, that
100%.
What the heck you're doing, and they see you on social media drinking with your friends and that you didn't text them back, like they're gonna, like there's no trust there. You know what I mean?
100%, Skyly. Like that same coach that talked about the flow, his other big thing was, if you can get your clients or the people that you're trying to reach 3 things, then they'll never forget you. So it's like, get them to know you, get them to like you, and get them to trust you.
Yeah.
So, you know, and a lot of that can be done through social media and getting through replying and just bringing your best each day. Really know you, like you, trust you, and you get that in their heads, and they'll be your client forever.
Yeah, I agree.
Question, just going off of that, and because you started in 2008 where social media was like just starting to be a thing, there was Facebook. Have you noticed a big growth in your business since social media boom? Like how has that changed your business?
Yeah, you're right. It was just Facebook time. And, you know, the first couple of years, I don't think I was doing much of it. It was maybe one of the first companies, or it was actually a friend of mine that started a company that would do some of the social media for you. Not like how you see some today, where I don't think it's great when, and I've signed up for it too. Oh, we're going to make these 3 posts a day for you, but it's like a picture of a mortgage something. And Kelly's probably seen lots of these, and it's so generic that you know the person didn't post it. And they usually have 0 to 1 likes. When I got this individual who it seemed like it was me posting more authentic and running little contests and doing stuff. And you see that we do that stuff all still today, because it definitely makes a difference. Yeah, for sure. And now, I mean, if I was more like Melanie, I would probably be posting on 4 or 5 different platforms is I think what they recommend you to do. Did that answer your question, really?
Yeah, I was just curious because like before social media, like advertising, I guess, would have been like in the papers and a lot more flyers. And now I'd imagine it's so much easier. And
yeah, like it was really front end newspaper loaded. But, you know, like I think back and again, I'm thinking about that. And it was putting my ads in the paper for the open houses I was going to do each week. And they were, you know, maybe it was $100 or something. So it's almost as, like money wise, we use the ad spend now on Facebook and social media. So, but the reach is just way better.
Yeah, the reach is better. There was actually another question I had. I just wrote down because you had said like talking about the Flow 50 and making sure that you're making connections with people. Try to every day. Do you always bring up the fact that you're a real estate agent? Like, how do you work that, organically into a conversation? Because I'd imagine that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've always tried not to bring it up, to be honest. Like, I guess I really lean heavily on the know me, like me, and then the trust me comes in. And I think if they don't bring up real estate, then I don't bring it up. That's kind of my rule. The rule of conversation and human behavior, usually someone says, so how's the market? How's real estate going? Like, it usually does happen anyway, especially if it's more of a small talk conversation, right?
Yeah,
So,
or you do for a living. Like, it usually does kind of.
yeah, that's right. Like, I was the same coach. He talked about this situation. It's good to have a couple little smart things in your queue to say and lined up. If I try to think of one, maybe I do it more now without thinking, but I say, oh, it's going great. You know, the market's certainly changed. Clients are realizing some good success because we've brought back one of our systems we used to use in a down market that really focuses on preparing the home before it even hits the market. We do over 200 things in our pre-listing consultation that really working well for us. And, you know, I'm really happy with, I kind of talk that way. Like, I'm really happy with how that program's going. How's it going at Safeway? No, I always switch it right back. And not too salesy, like it can sniff it out if you're too.
Like you said, you want to like answer the question and then like reciprocate with something so that they can talk about themselves too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But just drop a little nugget in there. Like, it's called Kelly's smiling like she's heard that one before, but it's true. Like, when you're a buyer of anything, we're all thinking like, what's in it for me here? So when someone's either choosing a realtor or maybe they've talked to a couple of realtors, but the second you say something that translates in their mind, like they're going to make more money or they're going to find a better house because of them, that is what they're going to remember. So think about those things when you're doing open houses, when you're having these little small talks, just little snippets you're layering in that you're doing that others might not be doing.
Yeah, totally. Kelly wanted to say, Kelly, if you have something you want to say,
I don't want to steal Blair's thunder by any means.
No.
You know,
please.
What's in it for me, and that's a big thing. And some of you may or not know me, but I did 25 years of business in Red Deer, and one of the big realtors out there was Kim Fox with Remax, and to this day still wears her name tag.
So I have heard that. That is so funny. I'm like, I would never be able to do that because people would be like, what's your name? But
right. And so she wears the Remax jacket, she wears her pen, and then they're like kind of looking at her and she's like, hi, I'm Kim Fox with Remax. Right. And so kind of on the other aspect of what Blair was saying is he doesn't talk about it. Or if somebody asks me, you know, if I'm out and about in the community, and some of you may have seen, you know, I wear my mortgage broker shoes and they're like, what do your shoes say? Mortgage broker. And it kind of plants that nugget. Oh, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I save people thousands and thousands of dollars from the bank. And they're like, what do you do? Right. And so it's
perfect.
Just, right. So it's just having something simple, plant that seed, and then your follow-up.
Need to see these shoes. Oh my God. You're gonna have to send a picture.
That's awesome. Yeah. You just made me think of one that I do currently for those that are with EXP. So it's a little EXP one. Like, if I'm talking with a seller, I say, you know, it's been great at EXP. It's a technology company and a real estate company. Being a technology company, they've provided us with all of these tech tools that have really enabled us to do our job at a higher efficiency rate than some of the other brokerages. And, you know, one of the examples is this program we get, Mr. Seller, called KV Core. It's an online database that tracks buyers searching on Google for homes in neighborhoods just like yours. In fact, I can go in and see a list right now of all the buyers that have been searching that are on my platform in there, searching for single family homes in Sahali between $700,000 and $900,000. So we decide to go ahead and work together. That's going to be one of my first things is I'm going to get on the horn, or one of my agents on our team is going to get on the phone, and we're going to start calling these buyers, reaching out and letting them know we've got this great new home in Sahali, 700,000 coming, and there's an open house. You know what I'm saying? So that's like all what's in it for them. We all have KV Core at EXP, but it's just a little thing you have, and it gets in their head. Just like I save people thousands of dollars in traditional banks. Like that's like bang, you don't forget that.
Yeah, I agree. That's like a really cool line, because then people are always curious to know like what's.
Yeah. And they don't have to be like a huge thing. It can be it's using money, something to do with money or related to it with what you do that's going to save them or get them more money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best one.
And it's definitely sharing and sympathizing where they've been, right? And so like Blair, you've been in the 2008 market. I've seen rates go up and down. It sympathize with people, right? I've been in really bad situations financially due to the oil crisis and us losing our oil company. I've been in their shoes of knowing what that stress is, and just being authentic is first and foremost. But if I can say to somebody, oh, I'm going to save you thousands. My job is to make you money. The bank's job is to spend your money.
Sad how many people don't know that, because I actually got my license for financial advising a few years ago, and people think it's like, where does money belong? It belongs in the bank.
Yeah.
But they realize that the bank makes money off of consumers being in debt. So, I mean, the more education that we can bring around, I'm using financial services as an example, but like your industry bringing that forward, and then our industry talking about like being like really authentic about what we do, and like just being really transparent about everything, it is going to build that trust and stuff even further, right?
Talk about a personal, really funny note last night. I have a 22-year-old daughter in her 4th year of nursing who got like 92 on her grade 12 math diploma, had a complete meltdown last night in tears on FaceTime because she didn't understand how interest works when you buy a house. And I'm the mortgage broker. So parent fail.
It's okay. My mom like couldn't explain it to me. I'm like, but why? Why do some people get more money on their tax returns than others? Why? And she literally couldn't explain it to me. My mom's best friend from like high school had to be like, this is how it works. So like, don't feel bad.
There's a full on, there will be a TikTok about Haley being bamboozled in life.
Because
so she got, the funny thing is she thought, okay, say 4% interest on your $150,000 mortgage, 4% times 150 is what she thought interest was. And I was like, oh God, heavens, what have I done? Right. So the education part and just getting back, teaching our consumers, teaching the people that eat at our dinner table. Like I was laughing so hard and she was bawling her face off. It's the education and just people just get comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I worked in the banks for 15 years. I know what that looks like. I've seen that side of things as well. So just having, like Blair said, the anonymous of what's out there for us and to educate our clients and using social media and using something super simple, easy. One of my mentees, because I do a lot of mentorship for other new brokers, was, oh, and no disregard, right? Like, should I get a billboard? And I'm like, well, that's $14,000 as a brand new agent. What is your rate of return on that? And they're like, oh, I probably wouldn't call myself. I'm like, okay, there's your answer. Like, go spend $14,000 on Facebook ads or social media, hire a CEO coach, like do it differently, but find out where your money's going.
Yeah. Or even like go meet people, right? Like ask your friends to throw a barbecue and invite different people that you don't know. Tell them you'll pay for the burgers and hot dogs. Do you know what I mean? Like that's way cheaper than getting a billboard where, yeah, there's billboards, but like you don't build the trust and rapport from just seeing someone's face, right? Like, yes, it's good when you're like established and it's like market awareness and like that stuff. I do like that stuff. It's
Totally agree.
It's not very
for a brand new broker who hasn't funded a mortgage. I'm like, no, honey, no.
Don't do that. Like nobody's gonna call.
Yeah.
Going back, Blair, you are wildly successful. I feel like everybody on this call does know that. So
Thank you.
Amazing. I am curious to know how your team has done this year, number one, and then what your like number one advice would be for like new agents or agents wanting to grow and just like level up in their business.
We've just done over 60 deals as a team this year.
Amazing.
So yeah, we're pretty happy with that. It's about on track to probably finish a little bit less than last year, but that's kind of expected too with what's happened. So we're really happy with that. Yeah. I think it's just like all the stuff that we've been talking about on the call here about, just kind of leveling up yourself and like finding that motivation and that gear and lay out a little bit of a plan for the week for yourself. Okay, I'm going to post these few things throughout the week. I am going to get out there and get my face out there in person and do some more open houses. I have open houses this time of year that are like dead all weekend, and it feels discouraging. And it's like, just keep going. All I can say is keep going,
right?
keep
Like
making the calls.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, keep making the calls. Keep it basic. And there's so much training available out there on expcloud.com where the schedule is. 50 hours of live training a week that is so valuable that I can't stop talking about it when people are asking me about the training, no matter what level you're at. I was talking about farming earlier. So I kind of had an interest in it. We've never really done a big farming thing until about a year and a half ago. I decided to take 40-minute course in the world on farming. And they're all taught by 20, 30-year established realtors. So this one guy had been doing farming for 30 years. He'd been a realtor for 40 years. He had it all laid out so that you didn't make all the same mistakes he made. So we ended up doing farming, and we had I think a budget of about 15 grand for the year. So that's a bigger one than what I was talking about when I first started, but it doesn't matter. You just stick to it for a whole year was his plan. I just did exactly what he said. And I think we sold 5-6 homes from it. So, we made a little bit of money from it. Yeah. So, I was looking at Vince's, because we probably all get Vince's Cavaliers over the years to the little skinny one.
Yeah.
But there's a reason he's doing it, because it must be working. And I think a lot of people will, now I'm not saying run out and start farming, right? Find something, do training, sharpen your tool at least once a week, probably more, and find a way to grow and then apply those things and test them. Like this guy's thing is, don't do farming if you're going to quit after 3 months. He's like, you have to do 12 months of it. And I think that's with a lot of the stuff in real estate, like open houses. Give that at least a 3-4 month run of every weekend that you're available. You go away on the weekends, of course, sometimes. But give it an honest effort of any of the stuff that you pick out to run for a few months at least. And I almost guarantee that you're going to see some traction if you just stay on it.
Yeah, I like that advice a lot, Blair, because it's true. And even with like website leads, because we do a lot of that, it's not like a short-term game. I feel like everything in real estate's a long haul game, but I think a lot of people give up and they're like, I'm not seeing anything, and then things start popping up, but then they don't know where it came from because they've done like so many different things, right? So you don't even know where to
Yeah, that's a really good point with the leads too, right? Because, we all have the KV core to do the calling, and sometimes that can be not very motivating because, like calling, oh, I'm not looking right now. And all the stuff that I've been there. So I know that, but it's the motivation to, okay, put them in the reminder to call them again in whatever, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4. The more you're just checking in, and we all kind of drop off sometimes. That's what I'm saying. Try not to do the drop off. And even though they say they're not looking, you call, hey, how's it going? Is everything working fine on your site? Okay, good. See you later. Even that at the minimum, at some point, if they do turn to a real buyer, they're going to think of you if you've made that call 4 or 5 times in the last 3 months. So whether it's open houses, the online leads, doing fundraisers or clubs or joining a sports team, I think it's consistency and just keep repetitive. Cam McKean, look at him, Cam McKean, the machine, I call him. 100 deals a year by himself. I don't even think he has it in min. I don't know how he does it. It's crazy, but
that's
he works. He probably works harder than almost anyone. And I'd be willing to bet have to. Yeah. And that's all it is.
Because I working with Cam at River City Realty. I was an agent before he was, maybe by a year. Anyways, and he was so slow at the beginning. He he wasn't really doing a whole lot. And I remember Vince and Richard Bates sat down with him and was like, do you want to do this or not? And he was like, yes. And the next day he was in the office, and you're right. I don't think I've seen someone work harder than him. It's every time I would show up to the office, he was already there. Yeah. Every time I talked, I was walking by his office, he was on the phone. And look at what it did for his business, right? Cam is a really nice guy, so genuine, so authentic. Yeah. And then to put the work in, and then all of this come from it. Like it's a testament to what we've been talking about this whole entire time, is that like, be a good human, be genuine, be authentic, build relationships with people, and like keep going, right? Like you have to put the hours in. I think a lot of people come into this industry, mortgage brokers probably too, and they're like, oh, I get to build my own hours. And they think that they don't have to work as often. And like, the sky's the limit and I get paid these huge checks, but then they don't realize all the work on the back end because we don't typically talk about it. You don't want your clients to think you're too busy for them. You know what I mean? So we kind of like, but in reality, it's like, no, like in order to actually do the volume of sales that we do, like you do have to work all the time and be available for people.
Right.
And
you just reminded me for Callie asking some of the things I did. You know, I'd really encourage buyers to get out and look at some, even if they said, oh, we're a year away. I would say things like, perfect, let's get out and look. I'm good with that. You know, it's great for me to see as many houses as possible, because then I can be the expert when another client asks me about that house. Just saying that shows them that you're not in it for the paycheck, even though in the back of your mind, you're kind of, oh, geez, I hope that they don't really actually look for a year. But you know what? The truth is, like, you hear buyers are liars. So you get them out looking, they might see something that sparks them and their motivation level goes up. And another good thing too is like, look at the hot sheets like a religion, 2-3 times a day. If you're not maybe super busy right now, then at least you can be the realtor that when you're in the flow, if you're going to start implementing the flow tactic, then people are going to be asking more questions about real estate. So you're going to have to be talking about it a bit more. So you probably want to sharpen your tool a little bit more on that end of like simply like knowing the hot sheets. Like they'll say, oh yeah, there's a new listing on the Glen Eagles. Oh yeah, that nice 2-story one is listed for $649. It's got 3, you know, like just kind of knowing that stuff. And I'll be honest, I've dropped off on that a little bit. So someone says that to me, I'm like, oh yeah, it's probably a good one. I'll check that out and I'll get back to you. And they're probably, oh no, I was just commenting, and I've lost the opportunity there to sound smart. So again, over time, just really build yourself up.
I feel like almost all realtors have read this book, but if you haven't read this book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is really amazing. And I feel like I use it a lot for like everyday life as well, when you think about things that you're doing. But saying, Blair, is that like you're drinking out of a fire hose right now in our conversation, because there are so many things that you can add to your business in order to do better for your clients. And it's like, where the fuck do I start? Because there is just so much. But like, if you just take one thing from this call today and start implementing it, and then once you get that down pat, and then maybe listen to it again, and then be like, okay, I'm going to add this. And then you slowly end up having this crazy evolved business with all these, it's like multifaceted and there's lots of things going on. But you didn't just wake up and it's like all of these things you're doing today, right? That's like right. It's compounded over time. Whoever is listening to this, make sure that like whatever you do, don't get overwhelmed. Pick something, pick at least one thing and run with it, and then compound into something else, because it can be a lot, like you said. It's the fire hose, but you know what? I love it. I would rather have too much than not enough, right? So at least then you can pick and choose what fits for you, because we're all different. And maybe something speaks to you differently than it would speak to me. So everyone from this call has probably picked up different things too. That being said, we are running out of time. We only have like 7 minutes left. So does anyone have any questions that they wanted to ask Blair?
I talk too much.
No, definitely not. There was such really good content, and I appreciate you coming on so much. I'm sure that I'll be badgering you to come onto this again. So
awesome. It was good to be here with you all today.
Sorry, Kelly, what were you saying?
I was just saying thank you, and thank you for having us, and thank you to Blair. I've heard him say a lot of good things, that even on the mortgage brokers, like in collaboration of both industries, of what we've gone through and what you guys are going through, and how be better in our everyday environment. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
And then I did put a list of books, because I'm a huge reader, just about mindset, in the chat. So
yeah. Did you send it on the chat, you said?
I thought.
I see it.
Yeah, it's here. And I asked her if it's okay if I share the list on our page, and I'm just going to tag her and share the list, like a screenshot on the Collaborative Mastermind.
Oh yeah, this is perfect.
I can email it out too.
Yeah.
It's on my desktop. It's super easy, but it's definitely one within our industry that we all, like Compact. I've done the Darren Hardy courses. I've done the Todd Duncan courses. So I'm big on mindset and
Yeah, me too.
what we do. But yeah, please feel free to share that. And I did mention to Skyly too that I'm gonna send out, I don't know how she'll do it, but somebody will win an audiobook for me. I'll send that via email out to you guys, and you guys get an audiobook for that. So thank you for having me.
A little book club within Forever Kamloops.
Really, but I like love personal development. I feel like I'm a junkie. So I've made the whole team join my little and I'm like, you guys have to read these chapters and then we're going to talk about it. So you think it's funny, but I think it's funny too. But you know what? Level up together. It's cool.
Compound Effect is one I actually read every in between Christmas and New Year's.
Oh, good. And it's short too, right? Like it's not long. It's like, I always listen to the audiobooks. I don't read, but like 1.5 speed so that I can just like get the info. Cause I don't want to like, I don't know. It's not like a leisurely activity for me. I like want to listen to it as fast as I can so I can have the info. How crazy is that?
And just jumping back to what Blair said about open houses, that's really how I got my name out there when I came into the broker channel, as I joined realtors at open houses. It wasn't about me getting the mortgage. It was one, the safety of the realtor, and second of all, it was to also protect the seller's content. So when you're in bigger homes, it's just nice to have I would study those feature sheets. I would know the square footage. I'd know the taxes. I would know how many bedrooms, and just being there to I wasn't there to sell the house. I was just there. And that was, so doing something different. There wasn't many mortgage brokers, and I don't think there's many in Kamloops that do this either. So it's definitely something I'm looking forward to get back out there and doing. But again, it's safety for you guys, safety for the seller's content. These are people's homes and people's things, and people are assholes that decide to come in.
For the one group coming through, like it's good to have more than one person because then you can be with them, right? Because you're responsible for that home too. So I love that. I love that. It's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Just different things, right, Blair?
Yeah, exactly.
If there's no final thoughts or final questions, then I guess we will sign off. Thank you guys so much for coming today. I love seeing all your beautiful faces. Okay, thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.